So this is my presentation, really, which is a review of a number of our projects and just some key take-homes from what we're doing in 4 of the 5 African countries that JOA supports, and very light touch also in Nepal. But also I wanted to look about how we've moved the African Jersey Forum on from its inception in 2019. So the concept was really launched in 2019 when we were looking at trying to understand how we could bring key people together across Africa. So there would, for a number of years, about a decade, there had been a European Jersey Forum, and more recently there's a South American, Latin American Forum. And the European Forum really was sort of joining Jersey breed societies across the European area. Within Africa, we decided to take a slightly different path and actually look at the people that we wanted to bring together across a huge continent to actually look at everything from the humanitarian work right through to the commercial Jersey spectrum at the other end. And I'm hoping that the speakers we've had today have covered all of those bases for us. So the Kigali event really was hung off the back of the World Jersey Cattle Bureau holding their annual meetings in Rwanda that year. And we had the launch, and then COVID arrived and actually slowed down things a little bit for us. 2021, we had JOA, Jersey Overseas Aid Support, to hold an event in Ethiopia, another of JOA's supported countries, but it became very apparent as we went through the year that that was never going to happen. So we started connecting with our people in Ethiopia. So that's our project implementing partner, Project Mercy, and also ILRI in Addis Ababa. And we discussed the idea of having a virtual event. So we went global. We had an invited audience here on Jersey Island and an invited audience at the ILRI offices in Addis over 2 mornings. And we were absolutely astounded that excuse me, over those 2 mornings, we secured nearly 1,000 hits globally, predominantly across Africa. So the map there on that slide you can see, so the gold countries are those that we connected with. And I'm hoping that some of the green countries that are on there, I noticed actually we had nobody from Zambia connecting in November 2021. Now we're running a project in Zambia. I will be very disappointed if we do not have somebody from Zambia watching this event today. And I would want to know why. And over 50% of the attendees dialed in from Africa across the 14 countries and 36 countries globally. And they were everything. I'm not sure we had Mongolia, but we definitely had China, and we definitely had Argentina, I believe it was. So it really became a global event. So next steps. So this is this year, and we decided to try and go both online and live. The idea and the support for the African Forum events is to be live in a country that is supported through JOA, so we can engage and bring our project implementing partners together, networking, learning from each other. But we didn't want to lose that global audience. So working with Delta here on Jersey, we've constructed what we believe was a way of doing that, and having an audience of 60 people in Malawi, whilst it is extremely disappointing that we've lost connectivity with them, they do have a backup mechanism. To have 57 people, I believe, in Kigali, and the Rwandan event has been put on by, say, Philippe, Innocent, and Felician primarily. So thank you very much to those 3 guys who took this on at the last minute to try and have us so that we could have a live audience in Rwanda today as well. The word on the top of this slide has a line put through it, and that is very intentional. That's not me not moving a word off. So 2 years ago, we used this slide, or a version of this slide, to indicate that we were trying to develop the African Jersey Forum message. And 2 years on, I'd like to think we've got to the point now where we are delivering that message rather than trying to understand what it is. So the core challenges are around balancing the focus on smallholders, plus an inevitable drive towards increased production and profitability across the African dairy sector. There are very many papers out there now looking at the potential for food production across the continent of Africa. And it is massive, and it needs to be massive given the growing population, just not there, but in neighboring areas that Africa could supply food to. Focus initially was on breed promotion, whether in pure or crossbred form, and we've tried to maintain that status through today's presentation. But primarily, especially on the website, it's about smallholder benefits of dairy as a driver for development. And the long-term goal for the forum is for it to be Africa-led. I do not want to be standing here in 10 years' time still presenting. We need to hand the forum over to Africa. And as soon as this event is over, we are going to start that progress. So the idea is there will be an African Jersey Forum event, hopefully in Zambia in 2 years' time. But when we get to that point, we will be starting to hand over responsibility to Africa. So breed societies are still very much at the early stages of development in majority of African countries. So what you saw in the presentations from South Africa today, that is the exception across the continent, really. So there's much work to be done in getting the basics right. Hence the two photographs I've used on this slide. We have a lady smallholder farmer in Rwanda with her Jersey cross cow and Jersey calf. And the team in Rwanda have actually done their own presentation they've used internally today. So this cow here, this lady, just to give you a background to her, she had 4 larger black and white cows. And because as a farmer, she's resource poor, she was unable to feed those cattle to the extent that their productivity was, I think, 2 to 8 litres a day. So she converted from the 4 cows to just the 1 Jersey cross. And the Jersey is currently giving, I think, 14 litres a day, which gives her plenty of milk for her family, for her workers, to feed the calf that you can see there, which is an F2 Jersey, but also to sell on as well. But this pathway is inevitably going to lead at some point in time to the view that we see on the left, which is a large herd of dairy cows, for our purposes, Jersey, but in South Africa. And this is a pathway that we are on, and the African Jersey Forum is inevitably on, and how many decades it will take to get there. But to give you an idea, the first agricultural census on Jersey Island in 1952 indicated that there were 1,000 registered milk producers that had owned an average of 5 cows. I came to Jersey 40 years ago this year, and the number of producers dropped from 180 to 120 that year because Jersey Dairy ceased to collect milk in churns. So it was about already seeing that older farmers or resource poor farmers that could not invest started to leave the industry. So in the 40 years, we've gone from 120 producers to now we're 12. And those 12 producers milk 2,500 cows, and those 2,500 cows are giving more milk than the 5,000 cows did even 20 years ago. So that is the pathway we're on. So this is inevitable that we're going to be having to deliver this message. The humanitarian work is extremely important, and we are making huge change, but we also have to be cognizant of the inevitability of the pathway that dairy is on across Africa. So 2 years ago, we were building the African Jersey platform, which was basically a website. So www.africanjerseyforum.com has a vast range of resources, video, visuals, and printed formats on there. And now it's about maintaining it. So it's about making sure that we connect with the right people, that people share their training materials, share their understanding, and we will keep building on that process to help. And say one of the things we're looking at is actually having a French language version as well, whether it happens in this calendar year or early part of next year, but it's definitely now on our radar to achieve. And then we have to look about the commercial benefits of the Jersey breed. So the why Jersey messages, the commercial benefits of the Jersey breed, no matter where you are in the world, are the same. It's about the fact that a Jersey cow needs 32% less water. She needs 10% less land. She has a carbon footprint. That same litre of milk has a carbon footprint 20% less than her comparable Northern Hemisphere dairy breeds. All of those factors are exactly the same. It's the context in which we use that information and promote those advantages. And we've also, through John Sassel's presentation in particular, dealt with the heat tolerance and the health traits, and Bernice in particular about the sustainability. So those words were on this slide 2 years ago, and they are still extremely important for us. So this slide and this statement, I actually borrowed it. I know one of the countries we work in attended the Dakar 2 summit, which was in January of this year, which is about looking at food sovereignty and resilience and how to feed the growing African population. So the statement at the top was, quite simply, at the action-driven Dakar 2 summit, heads of state will convene to mobilise and align government resources, development partners and private sector financing to unleash Africa's food production potential. So with the removal of barriers to agricultural development aided by new investments, it doesn't indicate whether it's private investment or development partners, it is estimated that Africa's agricultural output could increase in value from $280 billion a year to $1 trillion by 2030. That is only 6.5 years away. And we as an organisation have been working in Africa for 6.5 years, and that time has flown by. So investing in raising agricultural productivity, supporting infrastructure, climate smart agricultural systems, private sector investment will all have their impact. And we need to, as development agency, we need to engage with those people as well. We mustn't just progress looking at the fantastic humanitarian work. We have to understand our part of the bigger picture. And the challenges in Africa were taken from one of the country's presentations. And those challenges are exactly the same no matter where you are. Climate change, low productivity. Here it was referencing the low use of improved seeds, fertilizer, and livestock inputs. Post-harvest loss. That happens anywhere in the world. But in particular, in climate-challenged areas of Africa, it could be quite high. This country was indicating between 4 and 15%, depending on the commodity. Very low take-up of loans or availability of loans. And I know that's why Jersey Overseas Aid are also supporting financial projects, microfinance in particular. So in this particular scenario, only 4.8% of total loans were offered to the agricultural sector within that country in 2020. Limited agro-processing industries in rural areas. A lot of these rural areas don't even have roads. So the context of having a large milk tanker collecting milk from milk collection centres and moving it to a factory in a rural area, those opportunities really do not exist. There are very limited opportunities to create and cart product to factories. And then finally, research and development. So R&D is hugely important, and I'm hoping from today's presentations you will have seen that. I'm hoping that some people would have thought, yes, okay, the South African dairy industry is way ahead of us in terms of its commercial viability and the pathway it's on. But we will be able to pick up those nuggets and take them away and say that sustainability is important within our context. We're looking at continuing to finalise what we're terming a dairy profit index in Rwanda, and trying to understand what traits we need. And the primary one has to be survivability. The first things these cows have to be able to do is survive. Whether it then gets in calf, whether it then produces a calf, whether it then gives viable milk volumes, that comes second. First and foremost, it has to actually stay alive. So we're looking at local solutions for national problems. High investment costs. So these two photographs used on this slide, both taken from Rwanda. On the left, we have a new high infrastructure, high cost exemplar dairy farm in the northeast of the country at an area called Gabiro. And it's part of a huge crop irrigation and improving crop growing within a large tractor farm. And it felt important to actually have a current new model dairy farm there. Excuse me. And then at the other end of the spectrum, we have these people are from Ripple Effect, formerly Send a Cow, a Ripple Effect project in that same country, smallholders, probably resource poor, limited land availability, one cow. So those are the extremes of developing dairy industries in the countries. But so some of this is about changing mindset of the smallholder farmers to do very basic, acquire very basic skills that will make a huge difference, through to the high investment level dairy units that are indicating the path that the country needs to be on, but the speed at which it transitions has to be questionable. But there needs to be an understanding. So for this particular high investment farm, you have to sort of question simple things that the parlour that these cows are milked through might be maintained. The only person on the continent that can maintain that parlour might be in South Africa. So you have to think about the reality of when that parlour breaks down, how do you get that technician up to Rwanda to repair that parlour when those cows need to be milked twice a day? Equally, it's about understanding with the smallholder farmers that these people are generating a good income from their 1 or 2 cows. They are putting their children through university. The majority of those university educated children will not, as adults, want to come back and milk 1 cow. They will work in finance, they will work in the supply trade, they will live in towns or cities. So part of this process and the transition with the smallholder farmers is, for every 10 families that might have 1 cow each, we have to identify the 1 child from those 10 families who has the desire and the capabilities and the training and access to resources to milk 10 cows, because that is the inevitability of the long-term trajectory that the industry will be on in the future. So not sure how many of you will be able to see this, but this is on the website. So this is Jersey Overseas Aid's Dairy for Development Theory of Change, which actually goes through the 2 grant making and technical assistance at the base as our starting point. And then we work up through targeted dairy genetic gain, farmer capacity development. And from those messages, we can apply all of these elements to both of those 2 scenarios on the, if you like, the dairy industry continuum. So the projects really are dairy for development, and understanding that different countries, different zones within countries, different scenarios will need a different message, but the core facts remain the same. So we now quickly run through the different projects that we're looking at. So this is the one in Ethiopia. Project implementing partner is Project Mercy. We have 3 objectives within the project. So to promote the Jersey breed in rural community farmers, livestock development experts and technicians, focusing on the project area around Char in the Himara region of Ethiopia, which, as you can see, is a highland area. Objective 2, develop a scalable, sustainable animal breeding system for smallholders, focusing on equipping and enabling Project Mercy to enhance its breed management capabilities, to create sustainable smallholder farming support. And the photograph on the left is very indicative of the project area. So we have small communities living on the top of the hills and their land is down below them. And this photograph was taken by myself, I think 2 years ago now, when the first Jersey Cross calves were being born to the project. And this is the environment in which the Ethiopia project is managing what it's looking to do. And then third one, obviously, is the delivery of the last mile services. So at the moment, this is really about AI and AI technicians, but we are starting a clean milk production training program now that these improved genetics are on the ground. But with every success, I didn't want this presentation to be all about successes. I want everybody to understand the challenges we're facing. The huge one was a pandemic called COVID-19, which part of the world seems to have forgotten about. Part of the world said it never happened. But to those of us that needed to travel, it was extremely damaging. And it arose in February, March of 2020, just as this project was about to launch. So we delayed start for 4 months. But once we did get going, the launch really has been very slow. So we've recently secured an extra 12-month no-cost extension until June of next year to give us an opportunity to actually have the impact and develop the impact we were hoping to achieve. Unfortunately, in Ethiopia, at that same time, we had civil conflict. An armed conflict got to within 25 kilometers of the project area. I don't think it's hearsay. I think it is a true story. we were advised that the liquid nitrogen plant that supplies liquid nitrogen to our AI technicians had a tank shell put through it, something we could never have planned for and something we had to work around. So I think the project is even now having to travel 4 hours in each direction to collect liquid nitrogen for the AI technicians on this project. And then communication. For those that were or still are in Malawi, we regularly connect to Malawi, and the internet connection there is hit and miss. Ethiopia, I'm not going to say it's even worse, but it is even less reliable. And the project is in an extremely remote area. So communication was something massively missing because we weren't able to travel to negate the fact that we couldn't connect by the wonders of Zoom. But the success is we now better understand, we as an organization better understand the need to not run before we can walk. And I think that applied to us understanding Ethiopia, but also for Project Mercy, which had a herd of cattle, but actually had a lower understanding of cattle management in a smallholder environment, and in particular, the potential for dairy. But we needed to better understand that. I think our greatest project so far has been launching the 35 AI technicians who have now become our delivery agents. And the photograph in the middle is one of those 35 guys who has taken the initiative to cover the cost of his own business cards and posters. So he now promotes his wares as an AI technician through many of the villages that he supports. And we've seen those people actually understand how creating an opportunity to visit a farmer actually gives them further opportunities to generate an income. So a lot of the cattle sales are actually at a local market. So if you can promote your cow that you're selling as in calf, that increases its value. So this guy will come along and confirm your cow is in calf. And then 2 hours later, when somebody wants to purchase that cow, he then charges the purchaser to confirm the cow is in calf. So fantastic opportunity and really innovative ideas. And the third success really has been working more recently with Mama Kacha. So Mama Kacha are an Ethiopian barista-style coffee shop chain, and they have invested heavily in a milk processing unit not far from Chacha, which is the area where we're working our project. So this photograph here was a group of local smallholder farmers being given a tour of the factory. So we are now working very closely with them, very closely also with a guy called Ian Onstadt, who may or may not be connected today, but Ian has been visiting Jersey Island for over 20 years. And in that time of coming to Jersey Island, he works with our Jersey Island herds on ensuring that milk is clean. And that's everything from the cow to the carton. So it's been great to have Ian's understanding of Jersey Island and how we like to operate. And he's now actually taking that skill set out to Ethiopia for us. Then in Malawi, so a project partner there, Shire Highlands Milk Producers Association, has been a long-term operating organization. I think it started in 1985. When we started working with them in 2018, they had 7,000 farmers. We are now quietly confident they have over 12,000 dairy farmers. And the rate of growth on an annual basis is quite outstanding. And a lot of that growth is actually coming through the Makazi program, working with single female-headed households. We're also looking at improving the genetics of the cattle. And so Brian Lewis, who's been managing the project for 20 years, he is adamant that cattle need to be small. So the photograph on the right is of a Jersey type bull running with heifers at Mapemba farm, which is one of their heifer rearing units, where they, through natural service, inseminate the heifers, get them in calf, and then those heifers are the ones that go out to the new farmers. And Brian, say, has 20 years of experience in understanding that the cattle that are large and predominantly black and white invariably are those that have to be brought back to the farm because the new farmers just cannot cope with them, especially in periods where feed resources are very limited. Invariably, those are the cattle that suffer. So small is wonderful, as Brian will often tell us. But you'll see from the colour of the heifers, there is a complete admixture there. There are animals that in the background that look like Jerseys, that we've got the ones closer together, probably the local Zebu crossed with a Holstein Friesian. There's even one or two in the middle I can see that coloured a little bit like an Ayrshire. But the women's milk women, Mkakazi loan scheme, has been a fantastic success. So under our new phase 2 project, we decided that we would try and support just 200 new farmers. We supported 800 new farmers in the first 3-year phase. We've already reached 780 so far after 2 years. So we're going to break through that barrier in a wonderful way. And moving forwards, we'll be making sure that Shempa as an organisation has the resources, primarily in terms of appropriately trained staff, to accommodate these increasing number of farmers. Challenges that we've incurred in Malawi: COVID-19, in a different way though. So the impact was on the local population. It seems as if there were very few incidences, genuinely very few incidences of COVID-19 amongst the human population, but actually there was a reduced access to income because of the short-term arrangements on work. So very few people are on salary. It's all about short-term, come and do this for me and you will get paid. So a lot of that work ceased. Cultural practices, which were covered a little bit in the video this morning. So that particular area of Malawi has a strong matrilineal inheritance. So land and houses pass down through the female line. But compared to that, you still get the greater constraints on women actually being able to secure loans. And quite often, some of the farmers we're working with are not only just looking after their cow and their house and their land, but also have a good number of children, because the husband, because he has no direct tie to that property, will have moved on. And milk consumption is low. Now, you would think that would be an advantage because it would be easy to lift, but it's low because people can't afford milk in the Malawian context. So there is still much work to be done. So the successes, and I think what gives it away is the graph on the right. So we can see that round about the year 2000, the milk bulking group collections, the amount of milk collected in litres per day has just grown exponentially. And that graph goes up to January 19. We're now 4 years on, and that is still continuing to climb. So as an organisation, hats off to Shempa, and in particular to Brian and more recently Rolex, the project vet, for taking this on. And they really are a great success. Adapted for delivery in Rwanda. So this is one of 2 projects. This is our current project, which is referred to as Songa. Our project partner is a government agency, the RAB, or the Rwandan Agricultural and Animal Resources Delivery Board. And they are looking to seek our assistance in converting, which is really a redundant government farm, into a centre of dairy excellence. So that's something we're working on at the moment, and we're looking to run that through to supplying the organisations that we're working with a feasibility study, and that is really exciting. If we can pull this off, this is going to be a hub for the Jersey. When I say the Jersey breed in an African form, not just for Rwanda, but for the region as well. So this is really exciting work and will give us a great hub to train the local communities, but actually as a fantastic outreach centre as well. So some of our challenges and successes. One of the successes has been Rwandans' desire to roll out a national database that we've been helping them with. And that happened over a period of 6 months, and they registered. We still have got a bit of fine tuning on the numbers, but registered over 600,000 farmers and their 1.3 million cattle. We have delivered 160,000 units of Jersey semen, 250 Jersey embryos to help establish a national herd. The national database is operating far more effectively than we could have hoped, and we're now working on adding in facilitation functionality to accommodate AI technicians, monitoring of conception rates of technicians, delivery of vaccinations, and those sort of things. And then we got a pipeline project. So this is not yet passed, so we must make no assumptions, But we are looking at delivering a project in the northeast of the country, working more with pastoral farmers in a district called Gatsibo. And this is has its own challenges. It's with climate change, it is becoming a more arid, dry area. And you'll see on the right-hand side, there is a large area in the east of the district that is really pastoral. And then as you go to the west, there are areas where it is more traditional smallholder one-cow families. So we're trying to, our aspirations are to take the training programs that we've done on the truly smallholder farms into the pastoral areas to help with the sort of productivity. The slide on the left is an area in the northwest of Rwanda called Gishwati, where development agencies worked about 20 years ago. And if you go up there, the quality of the grass, the management of the cows, everything is so much better. So we want to transition some of the learning that happened in Gishwati across to Gatsibo. Yeah. And then really we've sort of got so adapted for delivery across Africa and beyond. So we've got the African Jersey Forum. We have the Jersey Gene Bank, which is a facility where we are happy to supply Jersey semen that we believe it is appropriate for use in Africa at cost or just above cost production into development projects. I reference Nepal because we are working with ADRA in Nepal on their dairy program there. We're giving them sort of light touch technical support. But now we come to our new project, which is in Zambia, and it's working again with ADRA. And this is a more traditional smallholder farmer, milk collection center, AI technician. So this is the projects that we're more comfortable with doing and have the highest impact in terms of smallholder farmers. So we're really excited. And the photograph on the right with Minister for International Development, Deputy Carolyn Labby, that was actually taken about a week ago with the British High Commission, the Zambia Minister for Agriculture, and the Permanent Secretary, Dr. Songolo. And on the left, we have the enumerators that were helping us do the training. So this very quickly, this slide brings together some of our project partners. Now, 2 years ago, this slide was fairly sparse and we just mentioned our project implementers, but we are now really starting to roll out and understand who can help us with these projects. We're building a great team and then we're trying to get these teams to work together. So thanks very much to the companies and the individuals that support us on this pathway.